Whoa, don't hate on Snickers.
I can hate that Snickers all I want.
Well, what's your candy of choice?
I prefer Kit Kats.
Ah.
Yeah, hard to argue, isn't it?
It is hard to argue. I don't know what kind of empirical analysis you can make of candy bars being objectively better or worse than one another, but
It's just fact that Kit Kats are superior.
all right. Maybe we can get the listeners to weigh in.
Yeah, weigh in on this pre-conversation. Kit Kats versus Snickers.
Team Snickers.
Team Kit Kat. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2M Football.
I'm Mike here.
And I am Matt, and we are continuing rolling through the AFC West.
Today we're going to talk about the Oakland Raiders.
An exciting team.
Very exciting. May soon be the LA Raiders, but we'll see what ends up happening with that.
It's too weird. I can't do it.
The Raiders were second in the AFC West this year, but then they made it to the playoffs, but they lost in the wild card to Houston without Derek Carr, their quarterback, obviously.
I think that hurt them, Derek Carr not being there.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I wrote it down, but they had under 100 pass yards in that game. It was tough. But they still had a great season in 2016, and they were on target to win the division, I'd say, until Carr broke his leg in Week 16. Because they ended up with the same record as the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. But they lost the tiebreaker head-to-head. And I thought that was weird to see because it was another late-season broken leg. You remember Mariota? Same thing happened to him.
Very weird year. Shoulder injuries and leg injuries to quarterbacks this year.
Yeah. But since they were tied with the Chiefs, they were really close to a first-round bye. If they had surpassed them, they would have been the number 2 seed in the AFC. But ended up as a wild card, so they had to travel to Houston, and they were unable to get anything going on offense with Connor Cook at the helm.
And I think he was just thrust into a weird position because as a backup during the regular season is hard enough, and now you're the backup in the playoffs.
And actually, he was the third string because they had Matt McGloin, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
And he was hurt, so you're right, yeah.
So even more so, now you're third string starting in the playoffs.
You couldn't have expected anything from him.
But I give him kudos for at least going out there and trying.
He tried. Season was still a success, though. The Raiders got to the postseason for the first time since 2002, and they posted their best win-loss record since the year 2000, when they were also 12-4. And I would say the needle is definitely pointing up for this team, and it all starts with their high-powered offense.
Yes.
Which leads me to the team's offensive rankings for 2016. They scored 26 points per game, 7th best in the league, 373 yards per game, which was 6th. 253 of those were pass yards, which was 13th. And they averaged 120 rushing yards per game, which was 6th best in the league. So across the board, one of the top offenses. And offense all starts with the quarterback, and the Raiders have a good one in Derek Carr.
Probably one of the better ones in the league.
Yeah, already in just his third year as a pro. He completed 64% of his passes for 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions.
A golden ratio.
Yeah, and those 6 was down from 12 in each of his first 2 seasons. So he's looking great.
And it just shows he's comfortable with his offense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more you get and settle into a groove, the better those statistics get. The more comfortable you know you can trust your receivers going up and getting things.
Exactly, and being a second-round pick in 2014, he's just what they were hoping for. Just what any team hopes for when they draft a QB early.
Yeah. Franchise.
Yeah, exactly. And now he'll be, like you said, franchise quarterback for a long time. And I don't really have any more analysis on him than that because he just looks really good.
He looks poised. He's well controlled. He makes good decisions. He doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, what
Great
more
arm
can you?
Strength, yeah.
What more can you ask for?
And we'll just hope he comes back fully healthy next year, which there's no reason to think he won't.
But I think the quarterback reflection is also around the core built around him, and this has one of the better ones.
It does, and a big part of that has been Latavius Murray for the past few years, the running back. He was a 6th-round pick in 2013, spent the first few years overshadowed by Darren McFadden. That's a name we haven't heard in a while, huh?
Yeah, right?
But he finally got the chance to start in 2015 and then again last year and looked pretty good. However, his rookie contract is expiring this offseason, and the team has chosen not to use the franchise tag on him. It looks like he's expected to sign somewhere else. They're not going to have Murray back for next year.
That, I think, is a devastating loss. And even Derek Carr wanted him back.
Yeah, it's a surprising move to me. He's big, and I did a lot of digging into these other backs on the team. They're all small. Murray is 6'3", 230 pounds. He's always been... he's been the primary back everywhere on the field, but especially around the goal line. They don't really have anyone else on the roster right now.
He alone has 12 touchdowns. Rushing touchdowns, that is.
Yeah. So I'm surprised to see him go.
Yeah, it's a weird move by Oakland that I don't understand. And like I said, when your franchise quarterback is saying, I want this guy back,
and he's only 27 years old still.
So he's got at least 4 or 5 more years in him.
At least he'll definitely get snapped up by someone. So since he'll be gone, though, I looked at all the other running backs that are currently on the roster. The one who's listed as the primary backup on the team's unofficial depth chart right now is a guy named Tywan Jones. He appeared in 13 games last year, but had just 1 rushing attempt.
For negative
8 yards.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Let's see. Do you want Latavius Murray or Tywan Jones?
Jones is even older than Murray, too. He's 28. He spent his whole career with Oakland, but has never really seen significant playing time. He doesn't have more than 16 carries in any season. So I don't...
This is really weird.
But let me get into these other 2 guys, though, because they are good. They drafted 1 running back and signed another undrafted free agent, rookie, this past offseason. And the guy they drafted was DeAndre Washington. He basically split the backup role with the other guy, Jalen Richard, who we'll get to in just a minute. And Washington was a 5th-round pick this year. He ended up carrying 87 times for 467 yards. That's a 5.4 per carry average and 2 touchdowns as a rookie. But as I mentioned, he's small. We said how Murray is 6'3", 230 pounds. Washington is 5'8", 204 pounds. Much smaller. He's
smaller than me.
Yeah. He's so fast, though. It's really exciting to watch him play. So I looked at the team's Week 16 game against the Colts. And actually, that worked out for both running backs because they both got significant time.
You could have picked a better defense.
That's true. That is true. But regardless, they look good. But let's start with Washington. So in this game, he was the 3rd running back to get a carry in the game. So Murray was the starter, and Richard got a few carries too before Washington came in. But once Washington came in, he stayed on the field for a while because he looked really good. He showed good vision, and he hits the hole really hard. He gets up to full speed really quickly and just explodes through the offensive line to the second level.
Uses momentum to get through the first line of defense and then just kind of takes it from there.
And he has good moves to make defenders miss in the secondary too. He looked elusive at the line of scrimmage. A lot of times you'll have if something breaks down in the offensive protection, you'll have a defensive lineman in the backfield almost before he gets the handoff. And that happened a few times, but he was always able to dodge around them and turn it into a positive play. On 2 drives in a row, he had a 22-yard rushing touchdown. 2 drives in a row, and both of them were... Okay, no, the first one was out of the shotgun. Took the handoff up the middle. This was one of the scenarios where he got away from a defensive tackle who was right in his face immediately. And then he just basically weaved through the defense. They had good downfield blocking by the tight end and receivers, and he just outran any defenders that weren't engaged with a blocker and got into the end zone. The other one, on the very next drive from 22 yards out again, they were in the pistol formation. So Carr was in the shotgun and Washington was behind him, directly behind him. He took the handoff right side. They just opened a giant hole in the defense, and he was through the secondary before anyone could even react almost.
And I think a lot of this is a reflect on that dynamic offensive line that this team has.
Yeah, it's one of the best in the league, and that definitely helps.
Not only are you protecting your quarterback, because Carr wasn't really sacked. He was sacked 16 times. That's once a game.
That's really good, yeah.
And then to be able to not only protect your quarterback, but the key thing to helping the running game is creating running lanes. And, some of those holes that they created, you could fit a semi-truck through.
Yeah. And maybe that's part of the thinking in letting Murray go, is that anyone can run behind this offensive line potentially. We'll see what happens. So in this game, he had 12 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 catch for 18 yards. But the other guy is Jalen Richard. He was the undrafted rookie free agent they signed this past year. And he has a very similar frame to Washington. He's 5'8", 207 pounds. And he had similar number of carries, 83 for 491 yards, with an even higher average, 5.9 per carry, and just the one touchdown. So that same game against the Colts, he was the second running back into the game after Murray. And he's really fast too. And I noticed the Raiders run a lot of running plays out of the shotgun. It seems to work really well for how the offensive line is able to block, and for these running backs to see it a little better in front of them.
Well, and I think what helps is when you come out of the gun like that is you don't have to worry about your quarterback dropping back. You've technically already dropped back. Mm-hmm. You just have to make sure your center snaps the ball properly.
Right. And so what I noticed is that Richard was the guy they had in for the 2-minute offense at the end of the half when they're trying to score one more time. So he's more of the pass catcher than what Washington did. And we're going to try this with the graphic again. Should be seeing it on the screen just about now.
Oh, here we go with lines and dots and stuff again. What are we looking at, Mike?
So what we're looking at here, you can't really tell from the graphic, but they're on the 2-yard line of the Colts. And they're in the shotgun with 3 wide receivers left, you can see, and also the running back, Richard. Line up almost where you would expect the tight end to, right next to the left tackle. Mm-hmm. So what they did on this play is, right off the snap, all the receivers on his side of the ball started blocking. And Richard swung out into the flat where Carr threw him there. So it's a running back screen, but to the sideline, but to the edge. And the receivers are the primary blockers. And they did their job, and he got into the end zone.
And actually, it's a funny story, because when I looked at this, I saw it was a screen setup, and it was one of my favorites to run when I played Madden.
Yeah.
Except I usually use a 2-receiver screen.
Right, yeah, they had 3 guys over there.
So, and that shows how this team is built, too, is their receivers are willing to throw blocks.
Yeah,
and effective blocks, not just kind of push it, but be like,
And not only on the screen plays, as I mentioned before, both of the touchdown runs. He just went through the line of scrimmage, and at the second level, most of the guys are blocked. The receivers are blocking downfield, and they look really good doing it. So both of these running backs look good. They're both small, quick guys. Richard seems to be the pass catcher, whereas Washington is more of the early downs running back. But neither of them is utilized as a goal line back. That's Murray's role, and that's my concern with letting him go and having just these 2 guys potentially.
Is they're smaller, they're elusive, but when you start to bunch up at the line, how are they going to be able to power through it?
Right, and I would say that they can't. So we'll see what happens here. But I guess overall, they both do look good, more than capable of being a primary running back.
So in the event that for some reason, and I hope they reconsider and sign Murray back.
Yeah, me too.
But if they don't, they're not entirely, hosed.
Yeah. And I believe, I don't have it written down, but I think the Raiders are another one of those teams that uses a fullback still. Mm-hmm. So it could be that the plan is just to use the fullback to run in those short yardage goal line situations and have these 2 guys almost switch off kind of as the primary running back and the passing down back.
Well, and I'm sure, too, that on the business end of it, not re-signing Murray saves them probably a lot of money because he definitely earns his pay, for one, but 2, he's going to take up a lot of that pay.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they like what they saw out of these running backs, like I did, maybe they see no reason to spend that money on Murray.
Could utilize it someplace else, but a place I don't think they need any help because it seems really solid is in their receiving core.
Yeah. They have one of the best 1-2 wide receiver tandems in the league, I'd say, between Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. And as we mentioned before, they're all good and willing blockers.
Yeah, willing is the key part.
Right. One problem, though, that this whole group suffers from is drops sometimes. The Raiders had the 3rd most drop passes in the league this past year. And I think most of that is on Crabtree.
Yeah, they are also the most penalized team in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait for Flag on the Play this week. Shout out to our other show. So let's start with Amari Cooper. This was his 2nd season, and he improved from his rookie year across the board. He had 83 catches, 1,150 yards, and 5 scores. He's only 22 years old, which is mind-boggling to me. I remember when I was 22, I wasn't an athlete. Still not, but something never changed. He's
our football session this morning proved that.
Oh, yeah. It was really sad to see. We threw a football around for about 5 minutes.
And we're dead.
And my back's acting up. Yeah. But anyway, Cooper's only 22, and he's already one of the best in the year. In the year. One of the best in the game. And he will only improve. And he and Carr seem to have a great connection. So I'm excited to see these two. And the other guy is Michael Crabtree.
I remember him.
Yeah. He was on San Francisco for a while, but this was his second year in Oakland, and he actually caught more passes and scored more touchdowns than Cooper. He had 89 catches and 8 touchdowns, but fewer yards though, with just over 1,000 barely. And Crabtree's a guy I would say struggles more with drops. You just see the routine ones seemingly for no reason. Sometimes it's because it's a short pass and he's starting to turn upfield too soon, but sometimes it just goes off his hands inexplicably. These two are a great combo though, and they can overcome the drop issues even if they persist, I'd say.
You know, you just hope that it gets better, because imagine what these guys could do if those passes were caught and taken instead of dropped.
Yeah, that's definitely true, but Crabtree is entering his 9th year. I don't really see why anything would change. This is just who he is, I guess.
Yeah, but like you said, at least they kind of make up for it. They've
Right.
put up a performance to where you can look at it and be like, well, you can't catch the ball, but when you do,
It's
great things happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I was gonna. They have a receiver, Andre Holmes, entering free agency, but I don't think it. I didn't even look at the other receivers on this roster because they barely do anything.
Well, they do something. They're on the roster.
They're on the roster, but then the third most catches on the team among wide receivers was, I think, I thought I wrote that down, but I don't see. I thought it was in the 20s. 20 receptions or something like that. So the point is they don't utilize a third wide receiver very much.
Well, at least with this past year, between Latavius Murray, Cooper, and Crabtree, I mean, did you really need another one?
Exactly. No, you do not. And the interesting thing is they don't really have a pass-catching tight end either, like a lot of teams do.
Well, I think that's what helps this offense with their blocking, why they're so good, is their tight ends are very predominantly used as blockers.
Yeah.
Which is strange because we're so used to, Cleese and Gronkowski. Kelsey.
Yeah.
I'm
just trying to put out the best product we can.
He's making fun of the way I talk.
Okay, so the third most receiver on the team was Seth Roberts with just 38 catches.
So he was there.
He was there. He had 5 touchdowns, actually. But he's not the one who's a free agent anyway, so it's
he was on the field.
Apparently. But anyway, so the tight ends they've got is Lee Smith. That's the name I literally never heard of before because he's the best blocker of the tight end. They don't really use him in the passing game, but he's a great blocking tight end. Basically another lineman. They've got Clive Walford. He was the most productive pass catcher of the group, which isn't still saying much, though, because he had just 33 catches, 350 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not so much to say about the tight ends. All these guys will be back next year. But you mentioned their O-line earlier, and they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. And it's interesting because a lot of teams strategize, like the Green Bay Packers, our favorite team, about building internally, draft and develop, don't spend in free agency. But almost all these guys on their line were brought in through free agency, and they've just been rock solid. They've really grown to be a cohesive unit and just been really good top to bottom. The only issue has been at right tackle because of injuries. They had 4 different starters at right tackle this year, and it was the weakest link the whole time.
But if your weakest link only provides 16 sacks over the course of the year, I'm sure not all of them were their fault,
right.
But if your entire line only produces 16 sacks, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
If that's not an issue that you'd have to be like, oh my God, this has to be addressed immediately, because you've still found cohesion with swapping these guys out. Usually when you replace a lineman, that becomes a huge what-if scenario.
Yeah. But these guys are a great group, and this offense as a whole is just very good.
Yeah, I think they have the potential to put up big points, especially once they get Carr back nice and healthy. And the last report I saw is Jack Del Rio said he's doing great.
Cool.
And he's really happy with the progress he's making, so he should be ready.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, quarterback kind of needs a leg.
Yeah.
Or two.
2 would be nice. So that's all I've got on the offense.
Uh-oh. Does that mean what I think it does?
Yep.
Special teams. No.
Our turn, Matt. Let's hear about this Oakland Raider defense.
Now, on footage, the defense looked really good. What surprised me was the numbers behind it. They ranked towards the bottom of the pack. They averaged 24.1 points a game, that was 20th. 375 yards, which was 26th. 257 of those were passing for 24th, and 117 of those were rushing, which was 23rd. And that kind of really surprised me because the Oakland defense is physical, it's in your face, it's aggressive, and yet I didn't expect to see those kinds of numbers. What burned them, and this was a fun fact, it took some digging because I wanted to get a little bit more deeper stats because Mike does such a good job with the numbers.
Aw, thanks, man.
Well, it doesn't help that I have about 500 other things that I'm doing. But I found a stat that was kind of interesting because they were ranked 23rd in the league against the tight end, giving tight ends an average of 65.5 yards a game, which is really where there's the dagger for this defense against the tight end. And I can kind of understand why. Tight ends are usually, they may not be taller than wide receivers, but they're wider, they're broader, they're big, lumbering targets. And that's why I like throwing to them, because when they get the ball, they may not be the fastest, but they're tough to bring down. Look at Martellus Bennett.
Right.
He can keep going and going and going. And I think maybe it's just because, our offensive stats and numbers showed, they're not a tight end team. Maybe it's they don't know how to play with these guys. They use their tight ends to block, where a lot of teams have a blocking tight end along with a pass-catching tight end. There are 2 golden players, though, that I know are not the problem for this team. And I'm going to start with the most popular name first.
Khalil Mack?
Oh, how'd you know? He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So Khalil Mack, this is his 3rd season in the league. He's a linebacker, and he's only 26. I was kind of surprised, and also that depresses me because I'm 26, and here I am talking about these people, and I could have been one of those people. Well, probably not could have been.
I don't know. I don't think we could have, but he did it.
He's a tiny bit down across certain, he has a few less tackles than 2016 or than 2015, but he's been very consistent, and he seems to overall get better with time. So from his first to his second year, he improved, and then he's down a little bit this year, but it's nothing that you should panic over.
Right.
I think a lot of it has to do with another player I'll get to in a minute, Malcolm Smith, who's entering free agency. I think, when you're entering free agency and you love a team, I think you play a little bit better.
Yeah, it can be a motivating factor for sure.
But Mack had 73 tackles. He had 11 sacks.
Nice.
5 forced fumbles, an interception, and 3 pass defense.
See, that's still pretty productive.
It's still productive. I mean,
I would call him the Von Miller of the Raiders. Sack specialist.
For not being an edge rusher, though, yes, he is very, very quick. What I don't like, he was only penalized twice for 20 yards, which was one of the fewest on the team in terms of total yardage.
Yeah.
But he needs to be careful. I've seen him get very, very physical, especially with short slants, dig routes coming through his area.
Yeah.
He throws checks, and if he's not careful, those checks are going to draw flags. And Oakland was the number 1 most penalized team.
Right.
Which doesn't surprise me. But Mack is solid. I mean, he's not a free agent yet, but I don't see him going anywhere. He's happy, he's home, and he's productive for Oakland. My other player that I was excited for was Malcolm Smith, who's another linebacker, which I usually try to pick 2 different players, different skill sets. But Malcolm Smith is entering his 6th season, and he's only 27.
Okay.
So he's young too. I mean, so between him and Mack, you've got young quarterbacks that have easily 4 or 5 more good years in them. Smith had 103 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, an interception, and 3 passes deflected.
Nice.
He's down from last year, but that's because he missed 2 games. Which, all right, not the end of the deal. I'm not going to panic over that. But then again, I think part of that was Khalil Mack also becoming bigger and better and more involved with the offense. So eventually these guys' numbers sort of average out. You don't have those standout years because you've got more than one player that's clearly capable of making an impact. He previously played for Seattle. I did not know this. I don't know if I missed that memo or what, but I see kind of how he gets his physical and why he's so good at securing a tackle.
Right.
The one thing I will give Seattle a lot of credit for is their tackling ability. Pete Carroll as a coach strives on securing your tackle. Thank you, Eros.
Yeah.
See, Eros agrees. That's our company mascot, 2M's mascot. But overall in the system here under Jack Del Rio, and I think with the personnel, he just seems to perform and play much better. He did have 8 penalties for 82 yards. 4 of those were DPI.
Okay.
And it was basically simply because he was grabbing receivers' arms. I think it's because he doesn't seem very fast to me.
Yeah.
But he's strong. And I think what happens is he starts to panic. Like even 6 seasons into your career, there are some things that you just can't help. When a receiver starts to beat you a little bit, you panic.
Right. Yeah.
And you go, no, because the last thing you want is them to catch and go for a touchdown, because then you're like, oh, well, crap.
Yep, that was my guy.
Yeah. So I think he tends to kind of panic a little bit, and 6 seasons in, I want to say like it's something they could work on, but I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
Everybody's guilty, but he puts up solid performance. And I think these two really make the focal point of this defense. Do you have stuff?
No, not really. They signed Reggie Nelson from the Bengals last offseason.
I saw you read intently. That's why I was waiting.
Well, I, despite what the numbers say, I feel like this is a pretty good group, and it's pretty young too. They've got David Amerson at quarterback. He was a recent draft pick. They just got Sean Smith. He's more of the veteran presence from the Chiefs.
And I think that's maybe why these numbers show that they're ranked towards the bottom, is because they're young, 26, 27, and now they're starting to become the veterans.
Right.
Khalil Mack will be entering his 4th year. Malcolm Smith, I hope they'll re-sign him, will be entering his 7th year.
Right, yeah.
So at this point, they've got some age, they've got some good consistency, which Del Rio is a big fan of, despite the whole Latavius Murray thing. But I think there are other reasons for that.
Yeah.
But
just as an aside, Del Rio's done a great job with this team. Do you remember week 1 of this year against the Saints? It was against they scored right towards the end of the game and decided to go for 2 and go for the win instead of going for the tie and kicking the extra point.
That play was talked about for like the next 3 weeks, and I remember watching like 3 weeks later Jack Del Rio's press conference, and they brought it up. He goes, "Well, you guys just dropped us already." That was 3 weeks ago.
But I think that decision sort of set the tone for what kind of tenacity this team was going to play with.
Oh, definitely. And that pretty much wraps up the defense, so I think you know what it's time for.
TLDW. Too long, didn't watch. So we'll do a quick recap of everything we've said so far.
And 98% of it's positive.
Raiders are a great-looking team. They were 12-4 last year, 2nd place in the AFC West. Lost in the first round of the playoffs to Houston because they didn't have Carr. But the offense looks really good. The running backs are in a good spot. I would say I still think they should re-sign Latavius Murray. Sounds like it's not going to go that way, but as we discussed, we think they have 2 more than capable backups currently in DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard.
The only thing they're losing is a 3rd down goal line runner.
Yep, because these guys are small. Murray's bigger. They have one of the best receiver tandems in the league. Only problem is drops sometimes, especially with Crabtree, but both him and Amari Cooper are great receivers. They have one of the best offensive lines in the whole NFL. And, and the defense looked better than the stats said they were.
The numbers said one thing, but my eyes and the way they perform said another. I mean, they got Malcolm Smith, who's a free agent, who I'm all down for re-signing. He's only 27, so I could say you could sign him at least another 4-year extension, spread that money out so that way it doesn't take a huge hit.
Yep.
Obviously, everybody knows the name Khalil Mack. He's a monster. They're both good in the linebacking core. They just need to tighten up against the tight ends, and I think that just might be I don't want to say they don't understand how they work because their offense doesn't function the way a lot of offenses do with receiving tight ends. But I think what they need to do is have Khalil Mack and Malcolm Smith trade off on spying when a tight end is put in a formation.
And for the team as a whole, they need to cut down on the penalties because they led the league in penalties this past season. But they're a great team. Looking forward to another good season in 2017.
And they're part of the reason why this division is always neck and neck with everything. I mean, we've done Kansas City already, and now Oakland, 12-4 teams.
And it's great to see Oakland back in contention. As we mentioned, it's been a while. They hadn't been to the playoffs since 2002, before this past year. So it's good to see them back in the postseason.
So with that wraps up the Oakland Raiders. Thank you guys all for joining us. It's exciting, and it's only going to get better as we have 2 teams remaining, so we're halfway through.
Yep.
If you like everything we heard or you have some comments, suggestions, inquiries, you can leave those down below. Also, our email's below that you can feel free to send us any of that. You can check us out at our Twitter handle.
At 2M_football.
Underscore is crucial, otherwise you'll never find us. True story.
Yep.
And we thank you all and see you guys next time.
See you later.